An education, a good job, a place to call home. All are things that we are told that we can achieve in the American dream. But time and time again, we're learning the playing field isn't level. A study from Cleveland State is verifying the sad reality that once again, African Americans are being left behind, this time when it comes to securing loans for a brand new home. Our 5 On Your Side investigator Joe Paganakis explains what's behind this disparity.
Local community leaders say loan discrimination is a troubling problem at each of Northeast Ohio's top 10 banks.
I can't get a loan. I'm not going to tell no lie. I have robbed Peter to pay Paul.
That African Americans are denied mortgage loans at a significantly higher rate than white applicants.
If they continue to do that, African Americans, Latinos, and other minorities need to pull their money out of these banks and go elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, you can go down the numbers.
And this report compiled a few months ago by Mark Salling, PhD, with the CSU College of Urban Affairs, backs up the disparity.
The denial rates for whites in 2017 was about 23%. And for African Americans, it was more like almost 50%.
Salling's report compiled 2017 Home Mortgage Disclosure Act data banks must file with the federal government.
This indicates that our American dream is failing in many neighborhoods and for many people, for African Americans in particular.
Salling says the lending performance of the top 10 banks can simply be broken down into 3 groups. According to the CSU report, banks with a loan denial rate disparity of more than 20% were Key Bank and U.S. Bank. Banks with a denial rate disparity of more than 15%, Fifth Third Mortgage Company, Quicken Loans, and PNC Bank. And the banks with a disparity of less than 10%, Huntington Bank, First Federal of Lakewood, Third Federal Savings, and Dollar Bank.
Banks don't want to be hassled with a $20,000 or $30,000 mortgage in Mount Pleasant or in Kinsman.
Former Cuyahoga County Treasurer Jim Rokakis says banks are unwilling to help in neighborhoods they hurt the most during the 2008 housing crash.
We helped to damage the neighborhood by making loans that shouldn't have been made. It caused abandonment, and now if you want to come back and try to stabilize the neighborhood, we're not going to give you a loan.
News 5 contacted all of Northeast Ohio's top 10 banks, and they all offered a response to the CSU report, issuing statements like, "We conduct fair and responsible banking by treating all individuals equitably. We regularly conduct fair lending reviews of our mortgage lending and promote a strong culture of diversity and inclusion within our company."
Can we help people if they're in a credit situation? We have programs set up to help you improve your credit score.
Dollar Bank was the only lending institution that agreed to an on-camera interview, saying it's working to close the disparity with credit enhancement and borrower education programs.
It's an educational problem as well. People have to know what's available to them. They have to know and ask the right questions and not be afraid to ask the right questions.
A few of the banks called the CSU study, quote, short-sighted, saying that using HMDA federal data as a single source doesn't include an applicant's full credit history, income, debts, appraisal data, or enough data points.
This disparity does exist out there in a couple of different dimensions, and we see it.
In response, News 5 turned to a study prepared by Cleveland Federal Reserve Bank policy economist Hal Martin. Martin's study, published in the Journal of Urban Economics, audited 6,000 lenders nationwide, posing as white and African American borrowers via email. That study also uncovered discriminatory practices in loan denial rates.
And then the next step is to ask, why does it persist? And what levers can we pull in order to reduce it?
And the experts we talked to say greater government intervention is needed.
We have to find a way to get them over the finish line. I think the city needs to be more actively involved, the state has to be more involved, the federal government has to adopt policies that help to repopulate some of those communities.
And more oversight is needed by the Federal Reserve.
It's obviously not enough. That's clear. There is this overall failure.
And finally, consumers need to demand change from banks and lawmakers.
We need more people to get on the phones, call these people, write these people, fax these people, text these people.
I'm 5 On Your Side investigator Joe Paganakis.